The impending launch of the 4070 Ti is pretty much the final nail in the coffin of the GPU market. Assuming the recent leaks are true, a card that should be coming to market at around $350 to $450 is going to cost a whopping $900 at retail, regardless of the MSRP that NVidia actually announces. It just so happens that that's the price of AMD's 7900 XT, a card that should also be on sale for much less, and the two cards should have comparable performance. Whichever way you look at it, the prices of the current GPU market make no sense for consumers. Is it possible that there is price fixing going on? I think there's a compelling case to believe so. Today's video is sponsored by Urcdkeys.com. If you buy a retail Windows 10 key, you'll probably spend $100 or more, but if you buy an OEM key using a service like Urcdkeys, it will cost you less than $15 after you use the coupon code C25. The keys work globally, and if you want Windows 11, what I recommend you do is just buy Windows 10 and get a free upgrade while you can. Personally, I use Windows 10 Pro. Once you've made your purchase using one of the many different payment options available, you will instantly find your key in your purchased orders on the Urcdkeys website. Click Get Keys and copy the key. Then, after you've installed Windows, of course, press Start and search for Activate and click on Activation Settings. Then click Change Product Key, paste in the key and click Next. That's it. Quick and easy and cheap, and your Windows 10 is now activated. If you need Office 2021 Professional, you can use the same 25% discount code C25 and get it for just $59.98. Since you're over there, check out the Black Friday sale for some great discounts on peripherals like lightweight gaming mice and controllers and some very affordable 60% mechanical keyboards. Thank you to Urcdkeys for sponsoring today's video. Check the links in the video description to get your OEM Windows keys today. So here are the specs of the 4070 Ti compared to the last generation equivalent. So roughly a 300mm square die, 12GB of GDDR6X, and a bus width of 192 bit. So you'd say these are the same tier of card, the last gen on 8nm Samsung and the 4070 Ti on 4nm TSMC. Given the node shrink, you'd expect a massive jump in performance, and that is indeed the case. So can you guess what the last gen card is? 3070 Ti would be a good guess, but actually remember that NVIDIA renamed the 4070 Ti. It used to be the 4080 12GB. NVIDIA has clearly shown that these names have nothing to do with actual tiers of cards. They are simply a marketing hook to fool consumers. So is that last-gen card a 3080 then? Nope. That last-gen card that the 4070 Ti is replacing is the RTX 3060, a card that launched at $329. So even with inflation and all that, the 4070 Ti should launch at most at around $400. Instead, it's launching at least $900, with most models being more than that. How do I know? I've seen the retail sell listings. So for instance, a model that NVIDIA is selling to retailers for $800, retailers are in turn selling to consumers at $999. That's pre-tax, by the way. Now, it used to be the case that AMD kept NVIDIA pricing in check and vice versa. I mean, that's the whole point of having competition. For instance, last gen, AMD launched the 6600 XT at $380, which in my review at the time I said was too high given the lower price of the 3060, but AMD's reasoning there was that it was competing with the 3060 Ti, which had come out months before at $400. The card was about 10% slower, so it reflected that on the price. Historically, AMD's lower prices for comparable performance have kept NVIDIA's pricing in check. NVIDIA typically commands a premium either because of the small performance advantage at the same tier or because they offer better features, like better ray tracing for instance. This generation was seeing something completely different. So here are the price increases gen to gen rounded. We can see an insane jump in pricing from the 3080 to the 4080 of 86%, and the 4070 Ti, which we already established is the 3060 successor, sees an increase of 170 24%. And in the AMD camp, the 7900 XTX is by AMD's own admission an 80-class card, seeing as they compare it in their own marketing to NVIDIA's 4080 and not the 4090. So it effectively is succeeding the 6800 XT, and there's no amount of lies or marketing bullshit from AMD that will change that fact. It sees an increase of 54% in price, and the shit show that is the 7900 XT, which going by AMD's logic is effectively a 6700 XT successor, sees an increase in price of 87%. There have never been price increases of this magnitude in the GPU market gen to gen, and they're coming from both companies in what looks very much like a concerted effort not to compete, but rather to set prices much higher than they should be. Notice that the only card that didn't see an absolutely gigantic price increase is the 4090, which incidentally has no competitor from AMD. Let's jump over to the FTC website to see what their definition of price fixing is. Price fixing is an agreement, written, verbal, or inferred from conduct among competitors to raise, lower, maintain, or stabilize prices or price levels. Generally, the antitrust laws require that each company establish prices and other competitive terms on its own without agreeing with a competitor. Here's Frank Azor from AMD talking about the 7900 XTX. Gordon Ung from PC World asked Frank on why AMD didn't show any comparisons to NVIDIA when announcing the 7900s.
So NVIDIA hasn't sent me a 4080 yet, so I'm kind of waiting for that to come in before I can have the comparisons. No, I mean, two things really. This card is designed to go up against the 4080, and we don't have benchmark numbers on the 4080 yet. I think we'll see those in a few weeks here. But now, realistically, we don't know exactly how the 4080 is going to perform, but with how we are performing right now, we're confident and we're comfortable that we're going to make them sweat.
Well, here's Frank basically agreeing that the 7900 XTX was designed to compete with NVIDIA's 4080, even before the 4080 was launched, mind you. Then he went on to comment pricing of the 7900s.
XTX is $999. The XT version is $899. I think I got the pricing right.
Yeah, and let's be realistic. It's a $999 card. It's not a 4090 competitor, which costs 60% more. Okay, this is a 4080 competitor, so let's be really crystal clear, the class here that we're talking about.
It's a $999 card, so it's not a 4090 competitor which costs 60% more, Frank says. Again, Frank emphasizes this is a 4080 competitor and is comparing prices. What did the FTC say again? Generally, the antitrust laws require that each company establish prices in other competitive terms on its own without agreeing with a competitor. Frank made it crystal clear that AMD is matching NVIDIA's absurd price increases to the T. There's no comparisons to last gen's real value. What AMD has done is change the name of the SKUs from an 80 class, by Frank's own admission, to a 90 class so that they can match NVIDIA's absurd price increases. The FTC goes on to say, when purchasers make choices about what products and services to buy, they expect that the price has been determined on the basis of supply and demand, not by an agreement among competitors. Let's see how supply and demand for these cards is going then. Here's the Sapphire 7900 XTX in stock with a whopping 1-star review at a whopping $1,400 on Amazon.com. Here's the same card on Newegg in stock. Overclockers.co.uk have the card in stock, but you shouldn't buy from this scummy retailer as they will keep your money even when there's no stock and put you in a queue for an eventual restock. Here's my local retailer with 4 different models of the XTX in stock. So even though several reports claim AMD made very few of the XTX model, there are plenty out there for you to buy. Historically, when new GPUs come out, they sell out immediately and become very difficult to get a hold of for months after launch. These cards just came out in very limited quantities, and yet there's plenty of stock out there. So there's clearly more supply than demand. The same is true for the 4080 and 4090. You can find them in stock everywhere. Contrast that with the 2000 series series and 3000 series, which were constantly sold out after launch. So there's not enough demand for all this supply at these insane prices. Yet both AMD and NVIDIA have risen prices by an absurd amount. And as the FTC website clearly states, price fixing can be inferred from conduct. This, my friends, looks to me like clear price fixing from AMD and NVIDIA. There's not enough demand to justify these insulting price increases, even with low volume production from both companies. And by Frank Azor's own admission, AMD sets their prices not by their own volition or based on what previous generations cost or even what the market is willing to pay, but by what their one competitor does. Frank clearly said that the 7900 XTX was in the same tier as the 4080 and was priced accordingly. So if NVIDIA decided to charge $5,000 for the 4080, AMD would increase prices of the 7900 XTX accordingly. This is what we can infer from what Frank was saying in that interview. The anti-consumer behavior from both AMD and NVIDIA is at an all-time high, and AMD is really taking the lead here with blatant lies in their marketing materials about performance and performance per watt, and now even refusing to RMA cards that hit 110 degrees Celsius under load, resulting in thermal throttling. It's disgusting. I honestly think the FTC should take a good look at what's going on in the GPU market, because consumers are being taken advantage of, and the only alternatives out there are in the used market, because guess what? Last-gen cards aren't going down in prices as they historically have at retail. Now, there is one class of consumer that is validating this anti-consumer behavior, and that's the NPC simp fanbot. There are people out there buying these cards at these prices, and if you're one of them, you have either been manipulated or you are an NPC simp fanbot who just gives into FOMO or just has misplaced emotional attachments. Don't be that guy. 2022 was an annus horribilis in many ways, to me personally and to a lot of people. I wish you all a great 2023, and I want to thank you for your continued support and viewership. I will be covering the upcoming announcements and launches at CES in a few days, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss that. This video was made possible by my awesome patrons. By supporting my channel on Patreon, you will gain access to the Cortex Discord server, where you can talk to me directly and join a welcoming community of tech enthusiasts. If you can't contribute at this time, then give this video a like and share it, as that really helps. Thanks for watching, and until the next one.